ending about fitting the appearance of a type, but being unable to understand or identify with the particular attributes that go along with that type, and why exactly it feels so foreign. In one sense, it was profoundly isolating to be walking around in a body that carried deep associations about who I am as a person, values with which I definitely did not want to be associated. Again, welcome, say millions of non-white, non-binary others. To look and sound like one thing, but feel internally like something else. It made me think deeply about how I want to be perceived, about how what I hold in my heart or mind isn't as important as where and how I present my physical self to those around me, in ways that represent who I want to be. It was like one of those bad dreams about being in public with no clothes on. I was all of a sudden aware of what people saw when they looked at me. The election of Donald Trump was a catalyst for this. But this book is not about him, and the problem I hope to address did not begin with him, and certainly will not end with him either. Straight white men have been the apex predators in our culture and around the world for centuries. We have wiped out indigenous populations, owned people as property, used and abused the environment for profit, stigmatized both men and women for their sexual orientation or gender identity to destructive effect. All of this mostly, as I will show, as a means to soothe our own insecurities. This is why predator is an appropriate term, because we have made anyone and everyone the prey by which we have sustained ourselves. We may be socialized differently in the context of our communities, churches, parents and family, friends, education, and so on, but there is no escaping the broader context in which we all come up. We have been bred to dominate and consume. Deep down, we, like most predators, still have an innate taste for those we can make our prey. We do not know who we are apart from this, or what we could be, if not predators. However, it is possible for Jesus to ruin our appetite for dominance. Not just any Jesus, not the one who has been co-opted in the name of justifying toxic masculinity, homophobia, economic oppression, and white supremacy. Not the one who was preached on plantations in the slave-holding South. Neither the one conveniently cited by politicians, nor the benign Jesus offered in many mainline congregations by white male pastors, sentimentalized and explained away so as not to offend or demand. But the Jesus of the Gospels, the Jesus who disrupts social and economic systems bent on exploitation and inequality, the Jesus who casts a radical vision built not on consumption, but on equity, the Jesus who critiques and questions religious practice that supports the status quo. That Jesus will spoil your appetite. He spoiled mine in the summer of 2004, when I was a seminary intern following around the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II and encountering a kind of salvation that could not be divorced from talking about bodies, about school districts and per-pupil spending, affordable housing, and access to early childhood education. On the first day of my internship, the Reverend Barber asked me to meet him at the church in the early morning. I drove us around in his minivan. As we drove through various neighborhoods in Goldsboro, North Carolina, he told me about the demographics of those who lived in each neighborhood, what they had once been, where the children were districted to attend elementary, middle, and high school. We went to City Hall, where we asked for a large map that he had clearly consulted many times before. He spread it out over a large wooden conference table and talked to me about the geography of the place. I had never considered this to be information that ministry might require, that following Jesus might require me to locate myself bodily in the midst of other bodies, to consider that how I sustained and enriched myself might deprive others. It was a new thing for me to consider that understanding how Title I funds are allocated, how schools qualify for them, and how they are used might be a matter of pastoral care to the congregation I serve. In room after room we entered, often to have tense conversations with local leaders hostile toward him